This is in response to Billy's Talking Points memo from Wednesday, December, what would it be that, the 16th? 17th, 2014, why do blacks dislike America, something like that. I always love it, Billy, when you have the pulse of what a race of people in the United States that you're not a part of, you have the pulse of what's going on with that race of people. And of course you start out by indicating that the United States is the land of opportunity, and in no other country in the world can a black have the same type of opportunity as they can in America. Well, that certainly may be true. At the same instance, you just made that up. You just made that up because it sounds good and you believe it. You know, blacks may have greater opportunity in the Scandinavian countries, perhaps in England, Ireland, Scotland, perhaps in France, perhaps in Spain, perhaps in Germany. But you don't know. You just said that. Now, it does sound good. And obviously, if you grow up in America, you would obviously want to stay in America and have an opportunity. But again, you're using this to disparage blacks, and you're using this to disparage the fact that they're upset about the way they've been treated by the police. In terms of, and then you don't really go into, you bring up one person, Samuel L. Jackson. Of course, you didn't bring up the marches and et cetera, but that's the implication in terms of who is condemning America. There's a lot of white people who don't like America. In fact, there's a lot of people in Congress who actually act like they don't like America. They think America's great, but they hate the American government. They'll do anything to screw the American government. They'll do anything to hurt the Department of Labor, the Department of Commerce, the Department of Agriculture, the Environmental Protection Agency. They love America, but they hate the government. They say, how did America become America without the government that we have? So you ask for perspective. There's a perspective for you right there. So you have blacks who are a little bit upset at the way they've been treated by police, the fact that their school system blows. Most school systems for them stink. Absolutely blow, and why? The tax base is lower in the inner city, or tax base is lower in the city. There's a whole host of reasons. We don't feed these people. We don't give them a good education. We don't pay them a minimum wage. It's probably much easier to screw a black person over in terms of wages than anything else. So there's some perspective for you. So, then you bring in the good father aspect of, maybe instead of saying I can't breathe on the t-shirts, we could say I can't breathe on t-shirts, but you should be a good father. Well, if I'm not mistaken, LeBron James has a couple kids. He's married. He appears to be, he's a good father. He's setting a role. He's a role model. He's an example. I don't know how he bides his time or anything like that, but I do know that the NBA has many things where they give out turkeys at Thanksgiving and do Christmas stuff. So they do to give back to the community. I know they just show up and they hand it out, but I mean, it's a huge, huge thing to a lot of these kids and to a lot of the parents of these kids. He's still married. You're not married. I'm not married anymore. We're both divorced. What type of role model are we being? What type of people are we? Where's the perspective on that? Am I a good father? I'd like to say so. But the system, and they point out, yes, the system is rigged against black people, but condemning Samuel L. Jackson is not how you're going to make things better. Putting something on the back of a t-shirt saying you need to be a good father is what's going to make things better. What's going to make things better is feeding these children in schools, especially in the inner cities, raising the minimum wage, voting for the Employee Non-Discrimination Act, equal pay for equal work, making college free. How about this? Since you've already admitted that they have it harder than everyone else, why don't you advocate for free college education for blacks? Of course, then the whites would say that they're being discriminated against. So, hey, why don't we just make college free for everyone? Because students are getting screwed right now on these for-profit colleges and the loans that they have to take out for them. It's $1 trillion thing. And what have we done to help them out? Well, we've cut Pell Grants again. So, you talk about helping out. You're talking about it being rigged against it. How about making things better? How about finding solutions? And it's not putting on the back of a t-shirt, be a good father. And of course, you had the Samuel L. Jackson, as I said yesterday. It reminded me of the old Negro spiritual songs. I remember listening to them back. I still have some of those albums, but I've never gotten the digital thing so that I can record them onto my iPod. I should do that. Maybe if I can make some money doing this, then I can do that. And, you know, why would Samuel L. Jackson ever want to come on The Factor? You know, you're dismissive towards people, you give them a little bit of chance to talk, you interrupt when they haven't even gotten close to halfway finishing. You bring you bring up a whole side issue, and then you trash them, then you get rid of them, and then you trash them again. Yeah, why would anyone want to come on your show? Yeah, that'd be great, Billy, you know. So, yes, this is the land of opportunity. Yes, we do have tremendous opportunity in this country. But it's a lot less than it was 30 or 40 years ago. You know, it was a lot less for someone right now than it was 40 years ago when you and I were growing up. And the only thing I want to say about that, you know, Billy, again, you come on, you bring up this stuff, you know, blacks are terrible, but this is the greatest place for them to be. They should be loving this country. They should be better fathers. That's the fault of everything. When it comes to anything else, to helping anyone out, the fact that the debt discrepancy between rich and poor is astronomically larger now than it has ever been in the history of the United States. And the only thing we hear from the Republicans, we can't tax, you know, the job creators. They're not creating jobs, they're just investing money in futures like oil. Maybe some of them got screwed recently on that, I don't know. But, you know, black people have had a terrible time. And it is an opportunity, there is opportunity in this country for everyone. But when you have incredibly terrible school systems in the inner city, when you don't invest in the inner city school systems, when you don't feed these kids when some of them need to be fed, how can they possibly learn? Okay, when you don't provide job skills for some of these people, how can they possibly get better jobs? When jobs have been taken out of the inner cities and they're going to the extra outer suburbs and there's no public transportation, how can they possibly get a job in those particular areas? Of course, it's more expensive in the outside in the suburbs too. You know, how are these things? How is it when you get a minimum wage that the minimum wage was raised 6 or 7 years ago and inflation has gone up? Well, it hadn't been raised for years after that, from years before that. You know, these are things that are hurting the black community. These are things that you should be advocating for to help the black community. And in essence, it's helping everyone in the United States. You know, again, Billy, you bring up these things, why are blacks dissatisfied with the United States? There's ample reason for it. You know, just because you got yours, Billy, and you grew up in a golden age where everything came to you pretty easily, and you had an incredible amount of talent, doesn't mean that everyone can do it like you, because there could only be one Bill O'Reilly. Yes, you're unique, as you were talking about yesterday, but there can only be one top dog on the top conservative show out there, you know? So there's a lot of talented people that are growing up in the inner city that are going to have a really, really rough time. And you could make a difference into it. You could make a difference to it more than LeBron James, more than Kobe Bryant. You know, you could make that difference. But you just want to go up there and criticize.